In the far future, humanity had finally taken its place among the stars. After centuries of progress and countless sacrifices, the people of Earth had achieved what once seemed impossible. They had joined the Galactic Council, a powerful organization formed by the 5 great alien empires that ruled most of the known galaxy. These empires were ancient, proud, and filled with arrogance. They had explored the stars long before humans had even invented electricity. To them, Earth was just a small, late-blooming world with primitive technology and overly ambitious dreams. When the first human ships arrived at the galactic dockyards of Vornak Prime, the sight drew laughter from the alien delegates. Their ships, vast and elegant, floated with silent grace, glowing with soft energy fields. The human vessels, in comparison, looked old-fashioned, metallic, rough, and solid. They didn't shimmer with light or flow with energy. Instead, they were made of steel, armor, and firepower. The aliens could not understand why humans built ships that looked so heavy, so aggressive, so primitive. To them, humanity's ships were relics of a forgotten age. At the council meetings, alien diplomats often whispered and mocked in their own languages, not realizing that the humans' translation devices were advanced enough to pick up every word. They still use projectile weapons, one Vornak ambassador sneered. Imagine throwing metal slugs in a battle when the rest of us use plasma beams. A Kareth general laughed and added, "Do they even understand energy physics? Or do they still light fires to stay warm?" Their laughter echoed through the vast chambers of the council. But not all humans were offended. Most stayed silent, observing. They knew that arrogance came from ignorance, and the aliens knew little about humanity's true nature. One man in particular stayed calm through it all, Captain Adrian Cole, a veteran of Earth's deep space fleet. He had seen wars, disasters, and victories that few could imagine. He knew that underestimating humanity had always been the first mistake of every enemy Earth had faced. The Galactic Council had invited humanity to join as a junior member. That title meant respect, on paper, but humiliation in reality. It meant that humans were allowed to sit in meetings but not to vote, to speak but not to decide. Still, the humans accepted it. They had no interest in starting a war of pride. They came to learn, to observe, and most importantly, to prepare. Because somewhere deep beneath the calm surface of Earth's political face, a secret project was taking shape, far away. On the dark side of the moon, hidden from alien surveillance, a massive construction site had been built. Its name was the Luna Shipyards. From space, it looked like an ordinary industrial zone, full of cargo ships, welding drones, and energy lines. But inside its hangars, something extraordinary was being built. The workers called it Project Nemesis. It was not just another warship. It was a new kind of weapon, something the galaxy had never seen before. Captain Cole was one of the few who knew about it. Every night, after attending the Council's diplomatic meetings, he returned to his quarters on Earth's orbital station and read the secret reports. The updates were promising. The Nemesis was nearly complete. The engineers had created a ship so powerful and advanced that even the oldest alien empires wouldn't understand its true potential. Its armor was forged from neutron-dense metals harvested from collapsed stars. Its reactor used a hybrid drive, part matter-antimatter, part gravitational fusion. And its weapons, they were unlike anything else. While the aliens relied on energy beams that lost power over distance, the Nemesis used kinetic energy so immense that even a single shot could tear through planetary shields. Back on Vornak Prime, the mockery continued. Every alien officer, every general, and every scientist thought humans were still stuck in the age of gunpowder. When the humans spoke of resilience and adaptability, the aliens rolled their eyes. The Thalrax ambassador, known for his cruelty, once said in a public broadcast, "Humanity reminds me of children trying to play with the toys of their elders." His words were broadcast across the galaxy, and laughter filled alien channels for weeks. But among the humans, something different was growing, a quiet determination. They didn't argue, didn't respond, didn't try to prove themselves with words. They just worked harder. Earth's best minds stayed in orbit around the moon, refining every system of the Nemesis. Every test, every error, every explosion was a lesson. Human scientists learned fast, faster than any alien race could imagine. What took other species centuries to perfect, humanity accomplished in decades. Their hunger to prove themselves was stronger than any insult. Adrian Cole often stood by the viewport of his ship, staring at the endless stars, remembering the Earth he had left behind. He thought of the old wars humans had fought among themselves, the great conflicts that nearly destroyed their planet. He thought of how they had always survived. Humanity was flawed, yes, but it was also unstoppable. They adapted, rebuilt, and learned from every defeat. That was what the aliens didn't understand. To them, technology was inherited. To humans, it was earned. As months passed, whispers began spreading across the Galactic Council. Rumors of a new human battleship, one that didn't appear in the public records, started to surface. Alien intelligence agencies tried to spy on Earth, but all they found were decoys, old blueprints, false signals, and misleading data. The Luna shipyards were protected by cloaked satellites and encrypted AI firewalls. Every attempt to hack them failed. The aliens grew curious but still arrogant. They believed that even if humans built something new, it would never be strong enough to challenge them. At one meeting, a Zephyr admiral stood up and mocked the humans directly. "Why don't you show us your strongest ship? Perhaps we'll help you fix it." The room filled with laughter again, echoing off the polished walls. Captain Cole simply smiled and said nothing. The admiral mistook his silence for weakness. But deep inside, Cole knew the nemesis was ready. The day came when the Galactic Council proposed a joint military exercise, a friendly test of power and coordination between all member species. To the 5 great empires, it was an excuse to show off their strength and humiliate the humans once again. The challenge was simple. Each empire would send its strongest fleet, and humanity would send whatever ship they thought could represent their might. The aliens expected the humans to refuse. To their surprise, Captain Cole accepted the challenge instantly. The news spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, millions tuned in to the broadcasts. Commentators joked about the bravery or stupidity of the human species. "One human ship against the 5 greatest fleets in the galaxy," said a Kareth news anchor. This will be entertaining. Even within the human delegation, some felt uneasy. They knew their fleet was small and inexperienced compared to the vast alien armadas, but Captain Cole reassured them. "We are not sending a fleet," he said calmly. "We are sending a message." As the human engineers prepared the Nemesis for its first official appearance, silence fell over Luna shipyards. The massive hangar lights dimmed as the ship powered up. For the first time, the humans saw their creation fully awakened. Its surface was dark and smooth, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. It looked like a shadow made of metal, a silent beast waiting to move. The energy readings were off the charts, but everything was stable. Captain Cole stood on the command deck, his heart pounding with pride. This was humanity's answer to centuries of arrogance. They had built something with their own hands, not copied or borrowed. Something born from human imagination, human courage, and human stubbornness. As the Nemesis prepared to depart for the exercise zone, Cole gave a simple order. Let them laugh while they can. Across the galaxy, the 5 empires readied their fleets, expecting an easy spectacle. None of them knew that soon the laughter would stop, and the universe would never look at humanity the same way again. The day of the great military exercise arrived, and the galaxy buzzed with excitement. It was supposed to be a friendly test, a show of unity and skill among the member races of the Galactic Council. But everyone knew the truth. The 5 great alien empires, the Vornak Dominion, the Kareth Collective, the Zunari Confederacy, the Thalrax Union, and the Zephyr Dynasty, had only one goal: to humiliate the humans in front of the entire galaxy. For weeks, alien news channels had been mocking Earth, calling this challenge the final proof that humans were not ready for the stars. Across millions of planets, beings gathered to watch the live broadcast. In alien cities, holographic screens showed images of enormous fleets assembling in deep space. The empires had each sent some of their best ships, bright and polished, moving like silver arrows through the dark. The Vornak ships glowed with blue plasma trails. The Zunari vessels were shaped like smooth discs of light. The Thalrax cruisers shimmered with red energy shields that looked like fire. The Kareth ships were swarming mechanical beasts moving in perfect formations. And the Zephyr dreadnoughts, massive and terrifying, were said to have destroyed moons during training exercises. Every empire had prepared its best. Their admirals wore shining armor, their officers proud and confident. To them, this was not a test, it was entertainment. They believed that the humans would bring a small fleet of fragile ships, maybe a few cruisers at most, just to avoid complete embarrassment. But when the humans arrived, the aliens went silent. Only one ship came. It emerged slowly from hyperspace, dark and silent, like a shadow falling across the stars. The ship's surface did not shine or sparkle like the alien vessels. It absorbed the light around it. There were no bright energy trails, no glowing symbols, no colorful shields. It looked plain, almost invisible against the blackness of space. For a long moment, the alien fleets didn't know what to think. Then the laughter began. "That's their flagship?" sneered a Vornak commander. "It looks like a floating rock. They couldn't even polish it?" laughed a Kareth general. "What kind of ship hides its own reflection?" But the mocking stopped when the humans transmitted their identification code. The message echoed across the comm channels. United Earth Navy Battleship, USS Nemesis, Commanding Officer Captain Adrian Cole. Some of the alien officers exchanged glances. A battleship? Humanity wasn't even supposed to have one yet. Their technology wasn't advanced enough, at least according to alien intelligence reports. But there it was, a massive human warship calmly facing 5 entire empires. Inside the control room of the Nemesis, Captain Cole stood at the central console, surrounded by his crew. His officers were calm, their hands steady on the controls. They knew this was more than an exercise. It was a test of human dignity. "Are we linked to the council broadcast?" Cole asked. His communication officer nodded. "Good, let them watch." The Galactic Council's representative gave the signal to begin. "This will be a simulation of combat," the voice announced across the fleets. "No lethal strikes. Weapons set to training mode. The purpose is demonstration and coordination." Every alien fleet commander smiled. They were already planning to show off, to make the humans look foolish. The exercise zone was a massive area of open space, surrounded by recording drones. The rules were simple: survive, defend, and strike targets for points. The aliens saw it as a game. The humans saw it as history. The alien fleet spread out in beautiful formations. The Zunari ships shimmered like fish in a school. The Vornak battleships aligned their cannons. The Thalrax cruisers powered up their red energy fields. From a distance, it looked like a dance of light, and in the middle of it all, the Nemesis drifted silently, motionless, without any visible energy signatures. "Why aren't they moving?" asked a Zephyr admiral. "Are their systems malfunctioning already?" The Kareth commander laughed. "Maybe their engines can't handle vacuum maneuvering." Even as the aliens joked, their ships locked onto the human vessel with targeting scanners. They didn't plan to destroy it, but they wanted to scare the humans, to show them who ruled the stars. "Begin simulation," the council's voice announced. The stars lit up with chaos. Hundreds of plasma bolts and laser beams cut across the void. The alien fleets fired in perfect unison, filling space with deadly light. To any observer, it looked like the human ship had no chance. The Nemesis was surrounded by explosions, smoke trails, and blazing plasma. On the alien screens, data showed impact after impact, but something was wrong. Every single shot was missing. The alien admirals frowned, checking their systems. The Vornak fleet recalibrated their sensors and fired again, dozens of bright blue blasts. Yet again, none of them hit. The Nemesis didn't move, but the energy bolts curved away at the last second, as if some invisible hand pushed them aside. "What kind of shield is that?" shouted a Kareth commander. "Our readings show no shield." On board the Nemesis, Captain Cole watched silently. The crew was calm, their systems stable. The ship's defensive field, a new kind of gravitational distortion barrier, was functioning perfectly. Instead of deflecting energy, it bent space itself around the ship, guiding every attack away like water flowing around a rock. The alien fleets grew frustrated. They fired heavier weapons, plasma torpedoes, ion cannons, even experimental graviton bursts. Nothing touched the human ship. The aliens started arguing among themselves. Some believed it was a trick. Others thought the humans had disabled the simulation sensors. But before they could confirm, Captain Cole gave a quiet command. "Fire one round," he said. The weapons officer's finger hovered over the control. "One round, sir?" "Yes," Cole replied. "Just one." The ship's main railgun activated, a deep rumbling sound echoing through its massive hull. The energy levels spiked, but not in the way the aliens expected. No glowing plasma, no dramatic flash, just raw kinetic power. A single tungsten projectile, dense, sharp, and heavy, was magnetically accelerated to a fraction below light speed. In the blink of an eye, it vanished from the nemesis and reappeared across the field. The Zephyr dreadnought in its path didn't even have time to react. The projectile tore through its shields, ripped through its armor, and split the entire ship in half. Alarms screamed across alien channels. A bright explosion followed, scattering debris through space. The simulation drones detected catastrophic system failure. The Zephyr dreadnought was officially destroyed. The entire galaxy went silent. No one had ever seen anything like it. The other empires stopped firing, frozen in disbelief. The human ship had fired once, only once, and a dreadnought worth billions was gone. In the Galactic Council chamber, the alien delegates stared at their screens. The laughter that had filled the room earlier had vanished. The Vornak ambassador whispered, That can't be possible. It's a kinetic weapon. They can't fire it that fast, but it was possible. The humans had done what no other race dared to try. While alien science focused on energy manipulation, humanity had returned to physics, the oldest weapon of all. Instead of chasing light, they used mass and motion, turning basic mechanics into unstoppable force. Inside the Nemesis, the crew stayed quiet. Captain Cole didn't smile, didn't celebrate. He simply gave his next order. Target the Thalrax cruiser. Non-lethal disable, another shot. Another flash. This time, the Thalrax ship's engines were shredded clean off, leaving it drifting helplessly. Its systems flickered, and the crew of the alien vessel panicked, unable to understand what was happening. Their energy shields meant nothing against the solid fury of human engineering. The remaining empires tried to regroup, forming defensive barriers and combining their shields. The Zunari fleet launched a swarm of guided drones toward the Nemesis. They expected the human systems to get overwhelmed. But as the drones approached, the Nemesis unleashed a counterwave of electromagnetic pulses. The drones froze mid-flight, their circuits fried instantly. They floated uselessly, spinning in space. Across the galaxy, billions of viewers were speechless. The humans weren't supposed to win. They weren't even supposed to survive. Yet here they were, one ship against 5 empires, and they were not only surviving, they were dominating. In the alien command ships, panic started to rise. The Zephyr admiral shouted at his crew, "End the simulation! End it!" But it was too late. The humans had already proven their point. Captain Cole switched off the weapon systems and opened a communication channel to the entire battlefield. His calm voice echoed through every ship. "Exercise concluded," he said. "Thank you for your demonstration." There was no anger, no arrogance in his tone, just quiet authority. The alien fleets, embarrassed and humiliated, slowly powered down their weapons. None dared to respond. Far away in the Galactic Council Hall, the members watched in silence. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy as a laughingstock, but after that day no one laughed again. The Nemesis had spoken louder than any words could. It wasn't just a ship, it was a declaration. And while the aliens tried to understand how humans could build something so powerful, Captain Cole and his crew already knew the truth. It wasn't just technology that made the Nemesis strong. It was the spirit of the people who built it. The same spirit that had carried humanity through wars, hunger, and endless struggle. The same spirit that refused to kneel before anyone. As the Nemesis turned away and disappeared into hyperspace, the galaxy was left with one haunting realization. The humans were no longer newcomers. They were contenders, and the universe would never underestimate them again. The battlefield was quiet for a few seconds after the first human strike. It was a silence so deep that even the distant stars seemed to hold their breath. Every alien commander, every soldier, and every council observer stared at their screens in disbelief. The mighty Zephyr dreadnought, which had been one of the largest ships in the galaxy, was now nothing but a broken shadow, drifting slowly into the darkness. Half of its structure was gone, torn apart by a single projectile from the human battleship Nemesis. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Captain Adrian Cole stood calm and still. Around him, his officers looked focused but proud. The screens displayed data of the destroyed dreadnought, but no one cheered. They had trained for this. They knew this was not the end, it was only the beginning. "Status report," Cole said in his steady voice. "All systems green," replied the engineer. "Shields holding. Railgun recharging." Cole nodded. Good. Let's show them what human engineering truly means. In the alien fleets, chaos was spreading. Admirals barked orders, trying to understand what had just happened. The Vornak fleet commander slammed his fist on the console. How did they destroy a Zephyr warship in one hit? His second-in-command stammered. The projectile. It wasn't plasma or laser. It was solid metal. Accelerated to near light speed. The admiral froze. Impossible. No one can accelerate mass to that velocity. It would require infinite energy. But the data didn't lie. The Nemesis had done it. The aliens began to regroup, their pride shattered but their anger burning stronger than ever. The Zunari Confederacy took command of the response.
They want to fight?
Then we will give them one, shouted Admiral Korath. All ships form a crossfire pattern. Target their engines. Disable that ship. Hundreds of Zunari vessels moved into formation, their energy cores glowing brighter. They were ready to unleash everything they had. Inside the Nemesis, sensors detected the rising power signatures. They're forming a kill box, said the tactical officer. All sides surrounded. Captain Cole didn't flinch. Hold position, he ordered. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Sir, I said hold, Cole repeated. His eyes were calm. They're using energy weapons. Let them waste their power. The alien fleets opened fire. The darkness of space erupted with light. Dozens of plasma bolts, laser lances, and ion charges cut across the black void, converging on the single human ship. The explosions looked like a storm of suns colliding. For the alien spectators, it seemed the humans were finished. But when the light faded, the Nemesis was still there, untouched. The alien admirals were speechless. The human ship hadn't even moved. What none of them realized was that the Nemesis was using a completely new kind of defense. Instead of traditional energy shields, it generated a local gravitational distortion field. Every incoming attack curved away from the ship, bending around it like light around a black hole. The attacks didn't explode on the hull. They simply vanished into space. To the aliens, it looked like magic. To humans, it was physics, old, raw, and ruthless. The Vornak commander shouted in disbelief. How are they doing this? Their energy readings are stable. They're not even burning extra fuel. The Zephyr fleet, furious at the loss of their dreadnought, decided to retaliate with their most powerful weapon, a graviton warhead. It was a bomb capable of crushing matter into dust using artificial gravity. The admiral gave the order, and a sleek torpedo launched toward the Nemesis. Captain Cole watched the weapon approach. His sensors picked up the gravitational distortions. Incoming high-density projectile, reported the tactical officer. Recommend evasive maneuvers. Cole shook his head. No. Let's test the new system. Activate the field on full spread. The warhead came closer, glowing with blue energy. It looked unstoppable. But as it entered the Nemesis's gravitational field, the readings went wild. The warhead's internal balance destabilized. The massive gravitational pressure inside the bomb reacted with the ship's distortion field, tearing the warhead apart before it could even detonate. The explosion disappeared into nothing, swallowed by the curvature of space. Gasps filled the alien channels. Even the Galactic Council observers, who had remained neutral, couldn't believe what they were seeing. A weapon capable of crushing moons had just been erased as if it never existed. Enough games, Cole said. Let's end this round. The weapons officer nodded and armed the railgun again. This time Cole didn't target a ship. He targeted space. Aim 3 degrees above the Zunari flagship, he ordered. Fire! The round blasted through the void and missed the flagship, but the shockwave it created tore through the nearby ships. The force was so strong that several vessels lost their engines instantly. Direct hit on 7 targets, said the officer. All disabled, Cole nodded. Switch to secondary batteries. Let's make our message clear. Panels opened along the sides of the Nemesis. From them, hundreds of smaller cannons emerged, each one capable of firing magnetically accelerated slugs. The alien fleets didn't even have time to react. In seconds, space lit up with streaks of glowing trails as the Nemesis unleashed a storm of projectiles. Each shot struck with perfect accuracy. Alien shields flickered, hulls cracked, and control systems failed one after another. The Thalrax fleet tried to counterattack using stealth technology. Their ships vanished from the sensors, turning invisible through advanced cloaking fields. For a moment it seemed like they might catch the humans off guard, but then the Nemesis's sensor array pulsed once, scanning with a frequency beyond normal ranges. Targets locked, reported the sensor officer. The stealth ships appeared instantly on their display as if their cloaks didn't exist. How? Cried the Thalrax admiral. They're seeing us. That's impossible. But before he could issue another command, a kinetic shell struck his ship, breaking it apart in seconds. The battlefield was turning into a graveyard. Every few seconds, another alien ship went dark. The aliens had never seen combat like this. They were used to graceful battles of energy and light, not the brutal simplicity of human physics. The Nemesis didn't rely on beautiful beams or glowing plasma. It used speed, precision, and devastating mass. Even the Kareth Collective, who had once prided themselves on their mechanical precision, found themselves overwhelmed. Their drones malfunctioned under the electromagnetic interference that the Nemesis emitted. Their swarm turned into floating wrecks. In the Galactic Council chamber, panic spread among the delegates. Some shouted that the humans were breaking the rules of the simulation. Others demanded the exercise be stopped. But the council chair only stared at the screen. You call them primitive, she said softly. But look at them. That is not primitiveness. That is mastery. Meanwhile, Captain Cole was still composed. Report damage, he said. No hull breaches, sir, the engineer replied. Shield stable. Railgun ready for next shot. Cole nodded slowly. Then we continue. But in his mind, he wasn't thinking about glory or victory. He was thinking about the message humanity was sending, that they could no longer be ignored or mocked. The remaining alien fleets began to retreat, their formations broken, their morale shattered. But even as they fell back, the Nemesis didn't pursue. It held position, watching silently. It had already proven its point. One of the alien commanders, Admiral Korath of the Zunari, opened a desperate channel. Human vessel, he said, his voice trembling. Ceasefire. We acknowledge your capability. Cole stared at the screen. For the first time, there was no mockery in the alien's tone, only fear and respect. Cole finally responded. This was a simulation, he said quietly, and we followed every rule. But let this be remembered not as an act of war, but as a lesson. Never judge a species by the age of its tools. Judge it by the will behind them. The alien admiral lowered his eyes. Across the galaxy, every viewer watching the broadcast understood what had just happened. Humanity had entered the stars mocked as weaklings. Now, in one moment of fire and silence, they had forced 5 mighty empires to bow their heads. The Nemesis slowly powered down its weapons. Its dark hull drifted quietly among the wreckage, surrounded by the ruins of alien pride. The humans didn't cheer, didn't boast. They simply watched the stars, knowing that history had changed forever. Captain Cole turned to his crew and said softly, Prepare for recall. We've made our statement. The Nemesis's engines flared and the giant ship began its journey home. Behind it, the broken fleets floated silently, the laughter of the galaxy replaced by awe and fear. From that day on, the universe would remember the first true battle of humanity. The day when 5 alien empires learned the hard way that the humans' greatest weapon was not technology, it was determination. And no force in the galaxy could ever match that. The silence after the battle was almost unreal. The stars stood still, and the wreckage of hundreds of alien ships drifted quietly through the void. The once proud fleets of the 5 empires, Vornak, Kareth, Zunari, Thalrax, and Zephyr, were now nothing but glowing debris, floating reminders of arrogance and defeat. The Galactic Council's broadcast feeds showed the aftermath in grim detail. Millions of alien citizens watching from across the galaxy couldn't believe what they were seeing. A single human ship, the USS Nemesis, had fought against the combined might of 5 ancient empires and emerged untouched. On board the Nemesis, the crew worked in calm silence. There was no shouting, no celebration, just quiet efficiency. Captain Adrian Cole stood at the center of the bridge, his face illuminated by the soft blue lights of the control panels. Status report, he said in his usual calm tone. Weapons offline. Shield stable. No casualties, replied the first officer. Cole nodded slowly. Then it's done. He looked out through the main viewport. The sight was haunting. Broken hulls, burning fragments, and the remains of once glorious ships floated endlessly in space. Some of the escape pods blinked faint signals, proof that alien survivors were still alive, waiting for rescue. Cole's voice was quiet when he finally spoke. Send a transmission to the Council. Inform them that the exercise is complete, and that we're beginning recovery operations for any survivors. The communications officer hesitated. Sir, after what they've done to us, we're helping them? Cole turned his gaze toward her. Yes, he said firmly. We are soldiers, not monsters. Let them see that humanity's strength does not come from hate. While the Nemesis moved through the battlefield, collecting survivors from enemy ships, the alien admirals sat in their damaged vessels in complete silence. None of them could understand what had happened. For centuries, they had believed themselves to be the ultimate powers in the galaxy. Their technology had ruled over dozens of worlds. Their science was unmatched. But now their fleets lay in ruins, and a single human ship had done it without losing a single crew member. On the Zephyr command ship, Admiral Thalon sat staring at the remains of his destroyed dreadnought. His hands shook slightly. This cannot be possible, he muttered. They're a young race. Their planet is barely industrial by our standards. His second officer didn't respond. He was too afraid to speak. The entire crew could feel the humiliation that hung in the air. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chamber on Vornak Prime, the high delegates watched the live feed from the battlefield. For the first time in history, none of them spoke. The Vornak ambassador, who had once laughed openly at humans, now sat with his eyes lowered. The Kareth representative clenched his jaw, his pride shattered. Even the calm and diplomatic Zunari counselor looked pale, unable to find words. The council chair, a wise being from a neutral system, finally broke the silence. They warned us, she said softly. They told us not to judge them too soon. And we didn't listen. The Thalrax delegate slammed his fist on the table. This was not supposed to happen. It was only a training exercise. The chair turned her gaze toward him. Yes, she said slowly. And yet 5 empires treated it as a chance to humiliate a new race. You fired live weapons, not training rounds. You intended to destroy them. They merely defended themselves, and they did it without killing more than they had to. Across the galaxy, news networks replayed the battle over and over. Every frame of the Nemesis's devastating strikes was analyzed by alien scientists. They tried to understand how humans had developed such technology so quickly. Some said it was impossible. Others whispered darker theories, that humans had discovered forbidden knowledge, maybe even something related to black hole energy. But among common people across the stars, something else was happening. Ordinary citizens from dozens of worlds began to talk about humans not as weaklings, but as something dangerous, powerful, and mysterious. The phrase human will became a new term whispered in alien marketplaces and military academies. Do not test human will, they said. Back aboard the Nemesis, the rescue operation continued. Dozens of alien survivors were brought aboard, injured soldiers, officers, and engineers. Many of them stared in disbelief at the human crew helping them. They expected cruelty, maybe revenge. Instead, they found compassion. Human medics worked tirelessly, treating burns and fractures. Engineers repaired escape pods and stabilized wounded systems. For the aliens, this was the most shocking part of all. One of the rescued Zunari officers, weak and trembling, looked up at Captain Cole as he passed by the medbay. Why, he asked, his voice rasping through a translator. Why do you help us? We mocked you. We tried to destroy you. Cole stopped for a moment. His answer was calm but firm. Because that's what makes us human, he said. We fight when we must, but we don't hate without reason. You needed help, so we helped. The alien's eyes widened slightly. He had never heard such words before from a victor. As the hours passed, the Nemesis completed its work. Hundreds of survivors were transferred to functioning ships and distress beacons were activated for the rest. Then, as quietly as it had arrived, the Nemesis turned away from the battlefield and prepared to return to Earth's fleet command. The galaxy was still buzzing with disbelief. Entire scientific councils were formed overnight to study the human ship's recordings. Every empire demanded answers. How could humans build a ship with such destructive power? How did they bend gravity, hide energy signatures, and fire kinetic rounds at impossible speeds? No one knew, but everyone feared. In the following days, the leaders of the 5 empires gathered in secret meetings. Their faces were filled with shame and unease. They had mocked the humans, ridiculed them publicly, and even attacked them during a so-called exercise. And now, the entire galaxy knew that 5 ancient powers had been defeated by one primitive race. The political damage was as devastating as the military one. The Zephyr Emperor, known for his pride, addressed his council with a trembling voice. "We will not forget this humiliation," he said, "but we will learn from it. The humans, they are dangerous, not because of their weapons, but because they think differently. We cannot predict them." Back on Earth, the news of the Nemesis's victory spread like wildfire. Across cities and colonies, people celebrated. For the first time, humanity felt truly equal among the stars. But Captain Cole was not celebrating. He stood alone on the observation deck, watching the blue glow of Earth below. The weight of what had happened pressed heavily on him. He knew this victory was only the beginning. "They will come back stronger," he murmured. "They always do." His first officer joined him. "You think they'll attack us again?" she asked quietly. Cole didn't answer immediately. He watched the stars, his eyes thoughtful. "Maybe," he said finally. "But now they know who we are, and maybe, just maybe, they'll think twice before mocking us again." In the following weeks, something unexpected began to happen. Representatives from other smaller civilizations, the ones who had also been bullied or ignored by the great empires, started reaching out to Earth. They sent messages of friendship, admiration, and requests for alliances. To them, humanity had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that power didn't always come from ancient lineage or advanced technology, but from courage, intelligence, and the will to survive. Meanwhile, the five empires faced growing unrest within their own systems. Citizens questioned their leaders. Soldiers doubted their commanders. How could they claim to protect their people if a single human ship could defeat their entire fleets? The arrogance that had once united them began to crumble. The Galactic Council eventually called for an emergency session. Humanity was formally invited, not as a junior member this time, but as an equal. When Captain Cole walked into the council chamber as Earth's representative, every alien eye turned toward him. There was no laughter now, no whispers, no arrogance, just silence and respect. Cole looked around the room before speaking. "Humanity didn't come here to conquer anyone," he said slowly. "We came to be part of something greater. But if you choose to treat us as fools again, remember this day. Remember the wreckage floating in space. We fight only when we must, but when we do, we finish the fight." His words echoed across the grand hall. The aliens lowered their heads in acknowledgement. No one dared challenge him. Humanity had earned its place through fire and steel. Later, when Cole returned to the Nemesis, he stood once more at the viewport, gazing at the stars. He knew that peace wouldn't last forever, but for the first time, humanity had a voice that the galaxy could not ignore. In that silence, as the Nemesis drifted among the stars, one truth became clear. Arrogance had fallen and respect had been born. The five empires had mocked humanity, but in the end it was humanity that taught them what true strength really meant. The galaxy was quiet after the battle. Broken ships drifted silently through the void, their twisted metal gleaming faintly in distant starlight. For the first time in history, the five great empires, Vornak, Kareth, Zunari, Thalrax, and Zephyr, were forced to confront something they had never expected: humanity. Their pride had been shattered, their arrogance exposed, and their fleets left in ruins. Yet despite all that destruction, Captain Adrian Cole and the crew of the USS Nemesis showed no signs of celebration. They moved through the aftermath with calm efficiency, helping the wounded, assessing damage, and preparing to leave the battlefield. Captain Cole knew that true power was not in destruction alone, but in how one used that power. The humans had already proven themselves capable of unmatched force, but the lesson of restraint was equally important. Across the galaxy, the alien admirals were shaken. Some were in shock, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Others were quietly furious, determined to find explanations or revenge for the devastating humiliation they had suffered. The Nemesis began its slow, deliberate sweep of the battlefield. Every surviving alien ship was scanned, and distress signals were relayed to nearby fleets. Humans on board prepared medical supplies and repair teams. Injured alien crew members were brought aboard for treatment. Some of the wounded whispered apologies in disbelief, having expected only anger or retribution from the humans. Instead, they found compassion. A Kareth officer, barely conscious from engine burns and plasma shock, looked up at a human medic. Why are you helping us?" he asked, his voice trembling. The medic paused, meeting his gaze. Because we fight when we must, but we do not hate without reason, she said softly. That is what it means to be human. Word of the humans' actions spread rapidly through alien networks. Across the 5 empires, citizens and military personnel alike began discussing what they had seen. For the first time, they questioned their assumptions about humanity. Primitive, weak, childish. All the insults once hurled at Earth and its people were now overshadowed by a mixture of fear, awe, and respect. Military academies debated the human strategies, scientists analyzed the railgun and gravitational systems, and ordinary people whispered the phrase human will as if it were a warning. Even the Galactic Council, which had observed the exercise from the beginning, was forced to reconsider humanity's status. The humans had entered the galaxy as supposed novices, expected to be humiliated and dismissed. Instead, they had demonstrated strength, intelligence, and restraint on a scale no one had imagined. The chair of the council called an emergency session to discuss humanity's position, emphasizing the need to acknowledge that Earth's people were no longer mere newcomers. Back aboard the Nemesis, Captain Cole convened his officers. "We've made our statement," he said calmly. "Now we must ensure it is understood. Prepare a report of all actions taken and send it to the council. Make sure they know that this was a demonstration, not an act of aggression." His officers nodded, understanding the importance of diplomacy as much as force. Humanity's victory was not just military. It was political and moral. The recovery operation continued over the following days. Dozens of alien survivors were treated and returned to functioning vessels where possible. Some of the rescued personnel were reluctant to leave the human ship, having witnessed both the Nemesis's power and humanity's sense of honor. They had expected vengeance but instead found guidance and assistance. Stories of human fairness and mercy spread as quickly as stories of their destructive capacity. While humans aided the wounded and stabilized the remaining fleets, the leaders of the 5 empires convened in private chambers. Their discussions were tense and full of unease. Pride had been wounded and reputations tarnished. Questions of security and strategy dominated every conversation. "How could one ship, one species achieve this?" demanded a Zephyr admiral. "We have the oldest fleets, the most advanced technologies, and still we failed." The Vornak representative added, "It is not just the ship. It is their mindset. They fight differently, think differently. That is the real danger." This realization was new to the 5 empires. For centuries, they had relied on tradition, legacy technology, and the arrogance of superiority. They had never faced a species that combined ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer determination in a way they could not predict. Humanity had redefined the rules of engagement, using physics and strategy rather than just raw power. Meanwhile, Earth and its allies began receiving messages from smaller civilizations across the galaxy. Many of these worlds had long been oppressed or ignored by the great empires, and they saw in humanity a symbol of hope and strength. Diplomatic envoys and requests for alliances arrived almost daily. Humanity's reputation spread not only as a military force but as a symbol of resilience, fairness, and intelligence. Captain Cole recognized this as an opportunity to form relationships that could secure Earth's future in a galaxy that had once dismissed it. The human crew aboard the Nemesis worked quietly, never letting the attention distract them from their duties. Engineers maintained the ship's complex systems, medics treated alien and human alike, and tactical officers compiled records of every maneuver, shot, and defense. These records would become legendary, studied by scientists and military strategists for generations. Humanity's approach to combat, efficient, precise, and restrained, was now recognized as a model for future interstellar engagement. Despite the accolades, there were still lessons to be learned. Captain Cole convened a final meeting with his senior staff before returning to Earth. "This battle," he said, "was only the beginning. 5 empires have seen our strength and the galaxy has taken notice. There will be challenges ahead. Some will come out of curiosity, some out of fear, and some will come with hostility. Our job is to be ready, for diplomacy, for defense, and if necessary, for battle." The Nemesis finally turned toward home. Its engines flared softly, propelling it through the darkness. The ship glided past the remnants of the alien fleets, a silent sentinel observing the aftermath of history. In the observation deck, Captain Cole watched the stars, thinking of the lessons humanity had learned. Courage, ingenuity, unity, and restraint were just as important as weapons and technology. The galaxy would remember this day not for the destruction alone, but for the principles behind it. When the Nemesis arrived in orbit around Earth, celebrations erupted across colonies and cities. Humanity had proven itself in a way that no one could ignore. But Captain Cole remained humble. He understood that true strength lay not in victory alone, but in the respect and responsibility that followed. "We have shown them who we are," he said quietly to his first officer. "Now we must show them what we can be." As the Council formally recognized humanity's new status, the five empires were forced to lower their pride. They had mocked and underestimated Earth's people, only to learn that determination, intelligence, and ingenuity could outweigh centuries of assumed superiority. Across the galaxy, respect was earned not through threats or intimidation, but through action and principle. In the weeks and months that followed, humanity's presence became a stabilizing influence. Smaller civilizations allied with Earth, inspired by the courage shown at the exercise. Even former enemies began to reconsider their strategies and attitudes. Humanity had demonstrated that true strength was a combination of mind, will, and heart, a force that could not be ignored or defeated easily. Captain Cole, standing once more on the observation deck of the Nemesis, looked out at the stars. He knew the galaxy had changed forever. The five empires, humbled and wary, would never again dismiss humans. And though challenges awaited in the vast reaches of space, humanity had claimed its place among the stars, not through luck or force alone, but through ingenuity, courage, and the unwavering spirit of a species determined to survive and thrive. The Nemesis had become more than a ship. It was a symbol, a statement, and a warning. Across the galaxy, one lesson was clear. Mock humanity at your own risk, because while they may appear small, their will is limitless and their resolve unbreakable. The humans had shown the galaxy what it truly meant to fight with both strength and honor, leaving a legacy that would be remembered for generations to come. And so, with the battle behind them and the future ahead, humanity stepped forward, not as the underdogs of the cosmos, but as a power to be reckoned with, a force that had earned respect, forged alliances, and proven that the human spirit was perhaps the galaxy's most unpredictable and unstoppable weapon.